Hi, welcome to Trauma Survivor Cynthia. My name is Cynthia. That noise you hear, it's raining, and I live in a motorhome on the coast of Oregon, so um, hopefully you can hear me okay. Today will be part 2 of sharing my trauma experiences with you. I would like to say thank you to all my new subscribers and friends. I'm blown away by how many subscribers I've gotten. Thank you. There's many of you that are still not subscribed, and I would love to be your friend. I'm going to title this video The Poetry of Trauma, and you'll find out why when I come right back. Thank you very much. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. Thank you for your patience. Hope you enjoyed that intro. It's one of my favorite waterfalls here in Oregon. Okay, we're just going to get into it. We left off at age 18 on my part 1 video, and just a reminder, everyone has been forgiven who has caused trauma in my life, and it's a lot easier to move forward when you can forgive those who have harmed you physically or emotionally. Sorry if my tripod is shaking. Bailey's laying underneath it. Hopefully she doesn't knock it over. Backstory, I got married at 19, and I was told I had to get married because he was in the Army and getting ready to leave for Operation Desert Storm back in 1990. And the military I was pregnant, got pregnant with my son in October of 1990. And I was informed that the only way my unborn child's name could be on my husband's will is if we got married. So I married him, and blessed with my son Tyler, who was born when I was 20 years old, and my daughter Tiffany was born when I was 22. At age 20, my first trauma is my son Tyler was born. Very exciting time, and was married to Kevin, his father. He kicked us out when Tyler was 2 weeks old. That was very traumatizing. You know, I have a newborn, I have stitches, I just had a baby, and he told me he was not ready to be a father or a husband. Luckily, I had the help and comfort of my mom and my stepdad, Dave Sanders, who rushed to my side and came and picked up my son Tyler and I, and we went and lived with Mom and Dave. He has such a big heart. I miss him dearly. So, yeah, that was mental trauma, you know, being newly married and a husband saying, "Get out, don't let the door slam you on the ass on the way out." Sorry about the French. Number 2, well, his mother, who would have been my mother-in-law, did not like me for several reasons. Not sure why. She did not like that my son Tyler looked like me more than her son. And from 91 to 94, she would spy on me. She would sit on the corner of the block with binoculars and watch me through the window. She threatened to kill me on her front lawn. She's also been in and out of mental health hospitals. So that was very traumatizing for me. I know it may not seem like a trauma to you and just, you know, a negative experience in life, but it was traumatizing. 20 years old, being kicked out. It just, no, I don't wish that on anybody. That was number 2, was the mother-in-law issue. Number 3, my son Tyler was hospitalized for 3 times during his first year of life for projectile vomiting. Found out that he was allergic to formula. I quit breastfeeding when he was 3 months old and switched to formula, and my little baby boy didn't like it. So the trauma of, you know, if you have children and they've been in the hospital or they've been sick, you understand. It's not easy to go through at all. Okay, I'm going to interject with some positive things that help out. Wearing bright clothes. I used to wear black and gray all the time. Wearing brighter clothes makes you feel better. I stopped watching the news on TV in 2004 because they always start out with good morning and then they tell you bad news. Well, I'm not into that. It's traumatizing. No, I'd rather choose what I'm going to watch. I use nature therapy. I love going for walks, going to the forest. Being close to nature's been very helpful to me with meditation to get through my severe PTSD. Okay, number 4. I had an auto accident at age 22, which was in 1993, the year my daughter Tiffany was born. Yes, Kevin and I got back together. I wanted to keep my family together, so yes, we got back together and had my beautiful daughter Tiffany, and I'm very proud of my kids. They're the best thing to come out of being married to him. They're my children, and I'm very grateful for that. The auto accident, Tiffany was a newborn, Tyler was 2 years old. I was in a 4-door Ford Tempo car, and driving to a pawn shop to pawn a stereo I had so that we could buy food, and I got broadsided by a Cadillac. Eek, that was horrible. Luckily, all 3 of us were taken to the hospital. None of us were seriously injured, but wow, if you've been in a car accident before, that is scary. Very scary. Makes you appreciate life and, you know, not want to take it for granted and live every day to the fullest. And yeah, but we made it through that, and the kids were okay. Number 5 is a big one, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time explaining it because this is the poetry of trauma that I talked about before my intro. Jury duty. I was 24 years old. This was in 1995. I got selected to be on a jury for a murder trial. The murder occurred at Albertson's grocery store on Bowles Avenue and Kipling in Littleton, Colorado. I went through the process of the jury selection. I got selected 7 weeks. And this trial was highly publicized by the media because 3 people lost their lives. I don't like talking about the shooter, the killer. His name was Albert Petrovsky. And his weapon of choice, I will never forget it because I sat in the front row of the jury box and the weapon sat on the floor in front of me. It was a Grizzly Big Bore on a bipod with a scope, which, if I remember right, it's an anti-aircraft weapon. And in the parking lot of the Albertsons, he shot and killed Sergeant Timothy Mossbrecker, who had responded to the shooting call, and he was shot in the face. And part of jury duty is you have to go through the autopsy photos, the bullet fragments, just 7 weeks of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. being in the courtroom. We were sequestered for the last week of the trial because a jury of 4 women screwed up. The person that responded with Sergeant Mousebrecker is with the SWAT team, and his name was Deputy Grant tonsillitis. And I want you to remember that name for my last trauma I'm going to talk to you about. The other people that died in the Albertson shooting was the store manager, Dan Suazo, and Al Petrovsky, the shooter, had shot and killed his wife, Terry Petrovsky. Apparently he thought she was having an affair, and she worked at the Albertsons. Very traumatizing. 7 weeks of that. I'm only 24 years old. I have a 2-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. Thankfully, my mom and my stepdad, Dave, were able to take care of my kids while I was in jury duty. I'm telling you, the autopsy photos, for anybody that works in a courtroom, I don't know how you do it. They're pretty bad. Sitting in the front row, I took notes, you know, did what I thought you're supposed to do when you're on jury duty, you know, make notes on paper, make mental notes. Whenever Al Petrovsky, the shooter, would look up from having his head down, he would look right at me, and it was really scary. After 6 weeks, I found out I was an alternate juror. Do you know what that means? When you are told you are an alternate juror, all those notes are for nothing. You get separated from the regular jurors. You don't get to deliberate. You don't get to talk about it. All the telephones are taken away. All the TVs are taken away. All the stereos are taken away. You're not allowed to have a book in the room. Yeah, all the regular jurors got to talk about the case and discuss it. Well, I wanted to turn a negative into a positive, and since they had paper and pencils, Haley's playing with her food. Since they had paper and pencils at the courthouse, I decided to try poetry, and I wrote poetry during jury duty, and I was very excited about it because at age 24 in 1995, that's pretty cool, especially when it gets published in a book. So that's why the title of this video is The Poetry of Trauma, because the poetry I wrote on jury duty was published in this book, and I was very proud. I received a certificate. I don't know if you can see it forwards or backwards. It says, "Thank you for entering our recent contest. The judges wish to recognize your outstanding poetic contribution to this anthology. We are therefore pleased to award you our Editor's Choice Award for our contest entry as published in Frost at Midnight. Congratulations on your creative achievement." And that's what it says on the back of the certificate. And it's from the National Library of Poetry. I actually saved all my little pay stubs too, and all the sequestered jurors information. So I will show you the poem, and then I will read it to you. It's titled Jury Duty. I don't know if you can see it, so I will read it to you. I know some of you are probably going to think it's bland and boring, but when you're stuck in a courthouse and you're not allowed to go anywhere or do anything, this is what I come up with. Jury duty. We arrive at 8:20 a.m. day after day. Down the hall to the elevator, day after day. Listen and watch the witnesses day after day. Looking at evidence, pictures, and weapons day after day. Making a decision, guilty or not, day after day. I want to go back to work. Written by Cindy Stroll. Stroll is my children's last name and my ex-husband's last name. But I am very proud that I have published poetry. There's the title of the book. So, yeah, even though it was a tragedy of what happened to Albertsons and I was on jury duty, I wanted to make a positive out of it, and that's what I did. Okay. Take a deep breath. Alright, age 26. We're talking about 1997. I divorced Kevin because he cheated on me. Yes, it's traumatizing, but end of story. Everybody has, not everybody, but some people have been through divorce, and it's not easy, it's not fun, it's expensive, but sometimes it's needed. So, okay, age 28, 1999. We're going to talk about the icing on the cake to all my traumas I've been through from age 7 until age 28. The shooting at Columbine High School. Wow, I can't believe it's been almost 22 years. Okay, because I have new subscribers, I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about that day. I had gone into work the night before on April 19th. I was a dispatcher, 911 dispatcher for West Metro Fire Rescue, which is one of the fire departments who responded to Columbine. As a dispatcher, I worked 7:30 at night to 7:30 in the morning. I got off work at 7:30 a.m. on April 20th, 1999, missing the 911 calls by 4 hours. I was at home asleep when I got the phone call that there was a shooting at Columbine because my husband Mike at the time worked for Jeffco School Security, and he was called into work because of the shooting. My kids were at daycare. Wonderful home daycare lady. I called her and let her know what was going on, and she was very grateful to keep the kids at her house. I was living in Golden, Colorado, famous for Coors Brewery, and I drove from Golden to Littleton, which is about a 20-minute drive, to get to my mom's house to find out more of what was going on. Well, April 20th was also my grandma Dorothy's birthday. She turned 70 on April 20th, 99. So my mom and my grandma and my aunt were out celebrating grandma's birthday when they got the phone call about the shooting at the school. When I got to my mom's house, there were several family members sitting around Dave's big screen TV, watching the news coverage, looking for him to appear in the crowd of all the kids running out of the building with their arms up. And the phone was ringing off the hook. We kept waiting for the garage door to open. We kept waiting for Dave to call. Dave never called. I got tired of sitting there watching the TV with everybody, and because I was a dispatcher for the fire department I was dispatcher for Jeffco School Security, I drove over to get as close as I could to Columbine High School, and I made it as far as across street from Clement Park. And I parked, and I ran all the way up to the crime scene tape that was around the trees, and I was yelling out, "Where's Mr. Sanders? Has anybody seen Mr. Sanders?" And custodian, was it, I think, Jay Galantine, or I think it might have been John, pulled me under the crime scene tape and had let me know that Dave was shot and on his way to the hospital. So all around Clement Park, there were people walking around holding up cell phones going, "Who needs to use a cell phone?" And I said, "I do," and called my mom's house, and my mom answered the phone. And I'm like, "Oh no." Mom put Melody on the phone, my aunt. She says, "No, I want to know." I said, "Put Melody on the phone." She did, and I let my Aunt Melody know what happened, what I was told. John Curtis, that's the custodian's name. Sorry. He, I talked to my aunt, told her what happened, and the phone call, and then I had a pastor offer to give me a ride to Swedish Hospital. That way I can meet up with my family, and we can wait for Dave to get there. Well, we all get there to Swedish Hospital. Dave's not there. I called dispatch. My work, West Metro Fire, called every helicopter pad, every ambulance company, and looking for Dave Sanders. All this time, we know he was laying in the school bleeding to death. We had victim advocates and the American Red Cross helping us at Swedish Hospital. They were wonderful. And then all the families with missing loved ones were directed to go to Leawood Elementary School, which is in the neighborhood of Columbine. And there we were to fill out a description of Dave, how tall he is, what color eyes, salt and pepper, beard and mustache, glasses, how tall. And we watched every bus that pulled up to hope that he got off the bus or would call, and no. So the helicopters, there were lots of helicopters hovering above. PTSD, anytime I hear a helicopter now, I picture myself in Clement Park, so I have to work on that for my healing. We didn't find out that Dave's body was in the building until Wednesday afternoon, the next day. And that's the day the sheriff's department walked into my mom's and said, we have a tentative identification that Dave Sanders' body is in the school. He was shot around 11:27. He was shot twice, and he passed away in the science storage room with somebody I had known from a previous trauma. Remember, I told you to remember a name? SWAT team member Deputy Grant Whitus was with my stepdad Dave when he took his last breath, and it was Grant Whitus that heard him say his last words, which were, "Tell my girls I love them." It's been a long time since I've been able to talk about this without crying. I think it took me about 15 years to be able to talk about it. And that's when I started to enter mental health therapy. 2 weeks after the shooting, West Metro Fire set me up with a mental health therapist. My first one, I'm going to say his name, Mike Cugini. He fell asleep on me. I'm pouring my heart out. I just experienced a family member that was murdered, and the therapist fell asleep. You could hear him snoring. And at this point, I've been through 36 mental health therapists in 21 years, and I'm very happy with my mental health therapist. And as you can tell, she's working wonders, because I don't cry as much as I used to. And I appreciate life. I don't take it for granted. I live every day to the fullest as if it's my last. And those are the greatest learning lessons I've learned from the tragedy at Columbine, is please don't take life for granted. Every day that you wake up, thank God that you are still here. If you are going through a trauma and you're having a hard time with it, please call your doctor and ask to sign up for mental health counseling. I appreciate everyone watching part 2. And there will be a part 3 to go through my traumas from age 28 and up. Thank you for watching, and take care of you. Bye. Subscribe, like, share, comment too. See ya.